All right. The Tower is the underlying energy. Why do we have the Tower here? Because of the King of Wands. Why is King of Wands? The reason why we have the Tower as the underlying energy because of the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords is coming up because of the Queen of Pentacles. All right. So dedication, hard work, commitment. Obviously, this relationship is definitely involving a loyal one, but there's prevention. I think someone finds this relationship so valuable that they are going through the measures or going through there was a bit of a turmoil back and forth, conflicts between you and this individual. And I think it was because you guys both wanted to maintain the relationship, right? There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of, energy, between the both of you. Right? But I feel like some of this has a lot to do with kind of being more courageous and being more trusting of the other person doing their thing and allowing the situation to just play out in the way it's naturally meant to instead of trying to make sure something doesn't happen. Because every time I see the Five of Swords with the Queen of Pentacles, or when I see the Five of Swords in relationship readings, that gives me this vibe of somebody trying to do everything and anything they can to keep something from happening. Instead of seeing it as, okay, well, I can do my thing and do my own situation, handle my own business and let the other person do their own thing and see, and figure out solutions and ways to overcome that situation when it happens, not preventing it, not kind of keeping it from happening. So, that ruthless energy is an understandable one, right? Because when you have something that's golden, when you believe that you have something that's just amazing, that's invaluable, you don't want that to go away. You don't want that to be jeopardized. So I kind of feel like everybody has kind of had jumped in arms and really tried to take the situation very seriously, and they were really trying to make sure things didn't go down a certain path, right? They were trying to keep something from happening, and that could cause a bittersweet situation, right? And with the King of Wands coming up, could be in Aries, Leo, Sagittarius that you're dealing with. But I honestly feel like this has a lot to do with courage and confidence in yourself, as well as the situation working out for you, right? Being comfortable in your own vibe. Now, the underlying energy ultimately for this reading is the Tower. This kind of gives us a background as why the Tower is coming up. And so now there's a lot of changes, a lot of things happening that's kind of unexpected. And I think it's honestly, no, excuse me, not changes. This is more of the foundation bubbling up, because there's realization that the foundation was really stable to begin with. Everybody's coming into this with their insecurities, understandably so, as anyone would, right? But those insecurities have developed into something that became a lot more serious, that ended up causing more, butting heads and working as a union. And I feel like everyone has to kind of become a little more confident in themselves and how they carry their 50% of the relationship, so that way they can really start establishing real hardcore solid morals and boundaries and routines together, so that way it can really be a seriously stable relationship, and a healthy one at that. Now, going into this, the situation, right? Because the Tower is all about this, starting from scratch, starting over. Like we have here on your side, Pisces, and again, this doesn't have to be your side. Here is the Magician. So the Magician here does talk about, they see this relationship as something that they're prepared for, that you guys are ready to handle. Some of you guys are questioning that. Some of you guys may not be quite sure that you have everything that you need to handle all this. But I do feel like a lot of you guys are going into this relationship saying, yes, I am ready. I've got this. I know exactly what I need. I have everything that I do need. I'm prepared to handle what comes in to really make this, to make this the best thing I can possibly make out of it, right? I could do my 50, I could do my part, and I will do my best. So I see the Magician as you guys seeing this relationship as you being ready to handle, you being ready to put your time into, right? Really put in, the effort that you've got, right? Now the other person definitely sees this as a new beginning as well, starting fresh, starting over. This has the potential to grow and to be beautiful, and they're giving of themselves. They feel like in this relationship they are giving of themselves, a lot of themselves, in the hopes of healing what has happened already in the past, as well as putting in prosperous and nurturing seeds for growth for the future. So I like this. Both parties are coming into this with some really good and manifestation energy, right? Both of you guys are both manifesting right now. You guys both see this relationship as a product of your manifestation and the continuous product of your manifestation. So that being said, you guys have here in your body how you represent each other, how you represent yourselves in this relationship as the Queen of Cups. Now, this is great. So far, this reading is amazing because you guys, especially you, Pisces, you're coming in as your energy, which I like, Queen of Cups. You would mostly come up as the Knight of Cups, but because, the Queen of Cups is, I feel like is more mature, and it's a mature version of the Knight of Cups, if that makes sense. You're feeling more in your energy. You're trusting your intuition. You're allowing yourself to be more vulnerable in situations like this. You're allowing to be able to receive and to love. And I feel like you guys are definitely trusting your intuition with a lot of this, but you also know exactly what you want. I feel like for a lot of you guys are also allowing your emotions to kind of flow through you and not let it get stopped up and bulky. Some of you guys, that's the advice for you as well, right? If you're in a situation where, you're not getting a good solid flow, it's because you need to let yourself, feel your emotions and then also to let them go. When it's time. But I feel like for a lot of you guys are feeling the love. You're expressing your love. Everybody knows you're in love. The Queen of Cups is the lover. So she is in love here. And the other person is showing up here as the Empress. So this is awesome too. They're taking their time. They're growing something with you, and they're building something with you that honestly is, full of abundance. Like it has abundance written all over it. Okay, not in the sense of like money or anything like that, but there, it could be the abundance of happiness, of trust, of comfort. You know what I mean? The stability. And I feel like with this Empress person, they're definitely taking care, either they're taking care of you, they see this, they're the caretaker, or you take care of them, right? But I feel like most importantly, they're also putting in the time, and they understand that there's a need for things to take its time and take its, run its course, if that makes sense, not necessarily force anything. So I feel like there's a little bit more at peace of this energy here, because like, remember when I was saying that everybody was trying to make sure the situation was maintained and all that? That's the past situation. Everything I was saying before, that was the past situation. This is this is the response to what how everything kind of came to be after all that. Right, there feels like some sort of bittersweet realization that some things that have gone down didn't need to happen. So now this is a reset. You guys are restarting, and how you guys are restarting is you guys are really putting in the your heart, putting your heart and soul into this. I feel like the Pisces, you're in you're just being in the moment and loving the situation, while the other person is kind of doing the same thing, but they're taking the steps necessary to put quality into this relationship. And how do I know this? Because of the Queen, because of the Empress. But where are they coming from, right? Where is all this energy coming from? It's coming from the Page of Cups. Okay. And the Page of Cups does talking about nurturing something, nurturing a heart's desire, nurturing something of, something that ties to their emotions, right? This is a dream. This is a heart's desire, right? This is something that they're building up, or they're growing, they're taking care of, and they love it. This is something that they personally love. This is also the beginning of a new relationship, or a small step towards an emotional beginning here. Something that opens you up emotionally. And I feel like this person here knows that they're starting fresh, they're starting over, and this is something that they see great value in, and they're willing to take care of it. This is something, they see the relationship as a child, if that makes sense. Not in the sense of like you're the baby and they're taking care of you. More of like they know that there's going to need to be time, there's going to need to be patience, and there's going to need to be diligence to make this relationship work. And it can't just happen overnight. They know that this is going to take time, and they're willing to put the effort in. They're willing to take care of it. They're willing to nurture the relationship to be the strongest that it needs to be, and not in the sense of like, how they were before, with like trying to prevent things from happening and keeping things in a certain way because they don't, they were just trying, either they were looking out for themselves or what have you. Right? There was no selfishness really involved in this. I think really what they're doing is they're putting in the time that they feel like they have to, they can, and they're doing the best that they can with it. They're not going to go any further than that. And I feel like that's the same thing with you. Now, where you're coming from with the Queen of Cups and everything is because you were dissatisfied with the situation. You looked for what it was that made you happy, that really made you feel tied to this connection, right? And I feel like even though this is starting from the very beginning, starting from the ground up. Excuse me. It's going. Yeah, I feel like you guys, you have enough love to carry you through it. I feel like you know what you love about this relationship. I think you know exactly where you want to start, building healthy, bonds and connections with you and your partner, healthy boundaries, healthy, a healthy foundation with you and your partner. You have a lot of love going into this relationship already. A lot of love. And I feel like before it was not. You were not feeling it. You were not feeling the relationship before. But now, because you took the time to understand what was going on, how you felt, and why you felt the way you felt, you're able to take what you know and what you are, what you're skilled at and what you're good at doing, and really implement that into this relationship. So yeah, the understandable challenge here is the Six of Pentacles, getting a balance of the situation, right? Putting in your 50, the other person putting in their 50, right? Making sure that you guys both get something out of the situation instead of trying to make sure that you guys do get something out of it, right? It's like, being collaborating together rather than just kind of looking out for yourself, like a dog-eat-dog world, right? Just kind of make sure you got your ends meet, and the other person, if they don't talk about it, then if they don't ask for it, then you ain't gonna do nothing about it, right? None of that. It's like you guys are both putting in your part. You guys are both doing your part. I think that's the challenge, right? What works for both of you guys? Where do you guys both fit in, and where are you guys able to work together to really, create that balance so you guys can have that stable relationship. And it's going to take time. Like this card is saying, worth waiting for. It's going to take time. The divine energy is working. And when it means divine energy, I honestly feel like it's y'all. You guys are the divine energy. You guys are the, believe, I don't know if you guys have, watched philosophers and stuff like that, but, people believe, like, especially when it comes to Christianity, you are the image of God. You are the derivative of the image of God. And I'm not saying that I'm Christian, but do understand that you do have abilities. You do have power. You do have, you do have ranges of abilities and skills. You can use all these in this relationship here. And that, as divine timing goes, is you just putting in the best part of, putting in as much as you can in this relationship to make it work. You know what I'm saying? You are doing the best that you can here. And I feel like that's perfect enough. But the challenge is still finding the balance between you and the person, because I don't think it's quite balanced yet. You guys are both very, passive, very, very emotional, which is not a bad thing. But I feel like the caretaking aspect is on one person's side, while the other person is just, just loving and supportive, which is not a bad thing at all. And I feel like there's gonna need to be a little bit more understanding of what each person is, willing to do and willing and not willing to do, what their boundaries are, or what the other person's boundaries are. And you guys both came together and started over. You both are taking a risk here, took a leap of faith with this relationship. You guys are both really putting in the effort, right? I feel like that's what it is. And it's going to take time to really build a harmonious balance. You just got to give yourself that time, right? You got to be patient. So, that said, let's go ahead and take a look at your Messenger Oracle card, guys. Okay. Alright, you guys have, you were born to create and see yourself in nature. Okay. That's not bad at all. Alright. So you were born to create is very similar to co-create of Wisdom of the Oracle. Knowing that you are born of the same gifts that God was given, that God has, pretty much, is to create, right? If He created this whole universe, He gave you the gift to create your own universe too, in your own perspective, in your own point of view. We are the image of, we're all a spinning image of God, and we are able to do the things that God can do as well. So right now, you guys are in the process of creating, right? You guys are building something that does have great potential to be abundant, to be, full of happiness and support and love and care. And you guys are doing that right now. This is a product of your new beginning. You guys are a product of your new beginning. It's going to take time to build. It's not going to happen overnight, and I think that you guys all understand that. But this is definitely saying, remember what you are able to do. Remember that you are the co-creator of your own existence, right? You are going to create whatever comes to you, whatever you want to come into the 3D. You have dreams that allow yourself to create those dreams by taking the time to put them into to put the work in. Does that make sense? And see yourself in nature is talking about being authentic in the moment, being authentic with your surroundings. Not, not necessarily not allowing yourself to just be yourself, but, just be you as you would be with, in any situation at all, right? If you're by yourself, if you're in a crowded area, be who you are. Don't shelter yourself. Don't hide yourself. Don't cover that self up. Be you at every moment, every turn, because you being authentic, being true, and being honest with not just yourself, but the world around you will allow this relationship to help to come up with a better balance. We'll come up with a balance that works for the both of y'all, right? You can't do it if you're wearing a mask. You can't do it if you're doing something that you would rather be doing. You can't come up with a balance if you're not being who you are. If you're not being yourself.